Have you ever wondered what you would do if you stumbled upon something truly extraordinary, something that defied all logic and science? What if that something was a living, breathing creature straight out of folklore? Today, we're diving into a story that blurs the line between myth and reality, a tale of a woman who found herself in an unbelievable situation. This is the story of Sarah, a gentle soul living on the edge of a vast ancient forest, and the day her life changed forever. Sarah wasn't one for grand adventures. She cherished the quiet rhythm of her life, tending her garden, listening to the birds, and watching the seasons paint the landscape around her remote cabin. The deep woods were her neighbor, a place of serene beauty and profound mystery. Legends of Bigfoot or Sasquatch had been whispered in her small town for generations, tales told around campfires to spook children. Sarah always listened with a smile, dismissing them as charming local folklore. She believed in the tangible world, the soil under her fingernails, the warmth of the sun on her face. But the forest held secrets far older and stranger than she could have ever imagined. One crisp autumn afternoon, while foraging for wild mushrooms deep within the woods, a sound unlike any she'd ever heard pierced the silence. It was a high-pitched, desperate cry, like a baby in distress, yet with a strange, guttural quality. Her heart skipped a beat. Was it a lost hiker's child, an injured animal? Her protective instincts kicked in, and she immediately pushed through the dense underbrush. Following the plaintive wails, the sound led her to a small, hidden clearing, and what she saw there made her gasp, her foraging basket slipping from her hand. Huddled at the base of a giant redwood, shivering and alone, was a small creature. It looked like an infant, but not a human one. It was covered in a coat of soft reddish-brown fur, and its eyes, large and impossibly dark, were filled with a mixture of fear and sorrow. They were the most intelligent, soulful eyes she had ever seen. The creature was whimpering, its tiny body trembling. There was no sign of a mother, no tracks but its own tiny, oversized footprints. This wasn't a bear cub or any known animal. It looked exactly like the Bigfoot from the old stories, but in miniature. Sarah's mind raced. Fear mingled with an overwhelming sense of compassion. This tiny being was helpless, abandoned, and terrified. Every rational thought told her to back away, to leave it be, to call the authorities, though what would she even say? But her heart told her something different. Looking into those pleading eyes, she saw not a monster, but a child, a baby who needed help. Slowly, cautiously, she knelt down, extending a hand. "It's okay," she whispered, her voice soft and soothing. "I'm not going to hurt you." The little creature flinched at first, but as Sarah continued to speak in her calm, gentle tone, it slowly quieted down. Its whimpers subsided into soft sniffling sounds. Gathering all her courage, Sarah scooped the infant into her arms. It was surprisingly light, and it instinctively snuggled against her warmth. its strange, desperate cries finally ceasing. At that moment, a bond was forged. She couldn't just leave him here to perish. With her heart pounding in her chest, Sarah made a decision that would alter the course of her life. She carried the Bigfoot infant back to her cabin, stepping from the world of the known into the realm of the impossible. Back in the safety of her home, Sarah named him Ben. The first few days were a blur of trial and error. What did a baby Bigfoot eat? She tried warm milk, which he eagerly drank from a bottle. She offered mashed berries and soft roots from her garden, which he devoured with gusto. Ben was a quick learner and incredibly gentle. He would follow Sarah around the cabin like a furry shadow, his large, curious eyes taking in everything. He'd sit quietly while she read, his head resting on her lap, and make soft, cooing sounds when she sang to him. The bond between them deepened with each passing day. Sarah found herself falling into a maternal rhythm she never knew she was capable of. She played games with Ben, rolling a ball across the wooden floor, and watched in amazement as he learned to stack blocks with his surprisingly dexterous hands. He was intelligent, emotional, and full of personality. He would chitter with excitement when she returned from the garden and wrap his long arms around her leg in a clumsy, affectionate hug. Sarah's quiet, solitary life was now filled with a new, profound purpose. She was a mother. Her child was just ... different. She guarded her secret fiercely. The thought of anyone finding out, of scientists wanting to study him, or hunters wanting to capture him, was a constant source of anxiety. She stopped going into town unless absolutely necessary and kept Ben hidden whenever the rare visitor drove up her long, secluded driveway. Her life became a fortress built to protect this miraculous child. Years passed in this hidden domestic bliss. Ben grew from a small infant into a lanky, awkward adolescent. He was now almost as tall as Sarah, his fur thicker and darker, his voice deepening into low, rumbling hums. He was still the same gentle, loving Ben, but a new restlessness was beginning to stir within him. He would often stand at the window for hours, staring out at the forest, his dark eyes filled with a deep, unreadable longing. A low, mournful call would sometimes escape his throat, a sound that echoed the ancient calls of the wild. Sarah saw it, and her heart ached. She knew, deep down, that she couldn't keep him in her small human world forever. He belonged to the forest, to the mystery from which he came. She had raised him, loved him, but she was not his family, not his real family. Then, one evening, it happened. A sound echoed from the deep woods, a call that Sarah had never heard before. It was powerful, a deep, resonant cry that seemed to shake the very foundations of her cabin. Ben froze, his head snapping towards the sound. He answered with a call of his own, a sound so full of yearning and recognition that it brought tears to Sarah's eyes. This was it. The moment she had both dreaded and, in a strange way, prepared for. She opened the door, her hand trembling. Standing at the edge of the woods, silhouetted against the twilight sky, were two towering figures. They were immense, covered in the same dark fur as Ben, their powerful frames exuding an aura of ancient wisdom and strength. They weren't monstrous, they were majestic. One of them let out another low call, and Ben, without a moment's hesitation, ran towards them. He stopped before the larger of the two, and the massive creature gently placed a hand on his head, a gesture of pure parental affection. Tears streamed down Sarah's face as she watched the reunion. It was a scene of breathtaking beauty and profound sadness. Ben turned back one last time and looked at her. His eyes, those same soulful eyes she had looked into when he was just a helpless infant, were filled with an unmistakable message, love and gratitude. And goodbye. He let out one final, soft chitter, a sound he had only ever made for her, before turning and disappearing into the forest with his family. Sarah stood on her porch for a long time, the silence of her life rushing back in to fill the space Ben had left. Her heart was broken, but it was also full. She had been given a gift beyond measure, a chance to love and nurture one of the world's greatest mysteries. She had raised a child of the wild, and now she had given him back. From that day on, Sarah would often walk to the edge of the forest, hoping for a glimpse of her boy. And sometimes, on a quiet night, she would hear a deep, resonant call from far away, and she would smile. It was her Ben and his family letting her know that he was home. This story, whether you believe it as fact or cherish it as a beautiful fable, reminds us of the power of compassion and the unbreakable bonds of love, no matter how different we may seem. It challenges us to look beyond our own understanding and open our hearts to the mysteries that surround us. Thanks for joining me on this incredible journey today. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next adventure into the unknown. Until next time, stay curious.